out the right bunker and draw it around the corner. And if he did that, swinging 121, 122 miles an hour, he'd have a mid-iron to that green, and it'd be game over. But I think he'll play far more defensive off two. He's very comfortable, and he can do it pretty easily, hitting his 3-wood off of 13 and drawing it around the corner. Same thing's true at 14. There's a couple of key drives for Tiger. Off of 2, for sure. What he does off of 3 will be, I'm curious to see his strategy off 3. I'm curious to see his strategy off of 10, and what he does on 13. Those are key drives for him. As much as anything, they'll say a lot about, the confidence that he has in his golf swing.
Randall, I mean, as we all know, Tiger's won 4 green jackets with 3 different swings, and he's probably had 5 different swings on the tour. The swing he has now, how do you compare it to the Butch swing or the Hank swing? Is it close?
Yeah. Well, the thing about Tiger is, look, we criticize him or we're confounded by him changing his golf swing. But the fact is, every time he changed his golf swing, with the exception of the swing that he made under Sean Foley, he got better. He was a better player in 2000 than he was in 96, 97. He was a better player under Hank Haney than he was under Butch Harmon. There's just no two ways about it. He won 33% of the golf tournaments under Hank Haney. He was a better player. How would I compare the swing he has now? Well, it's nowhere near as good. I mean, it's headed in that direction.
Sure.
This golf swing has the potential to be. It has the potential to be the 3rd best golf swing he's ever had, because the golf swing under Hank Haney, it was his most consistent. The golf swing he had under Butch Harmon was his most dominating or most explosive, I should say, the second one under Butch. But this one has the potential to be right there with it. He still drops down in the second half of his backswing. People love to say, well, lots of people drop down, but Tiger did not drop down under Butch, and he didn't drop down. And I'm not talking about when he changes direction. I'm not talking about when he starts moving towards the target. Even as he's completing his backswing, he'll start moving towards the target. I call that the downswing. I mean, that's when the transition starts. I'm just talking about when he moves his first part of his backswing and the second part of his backswing, the takeaway and the second part of his backswing. If he would stay taller, and, he's done a great job of shifting to the right, and he's staying taller than he was at the beginning of the year, but he's still dropping down substantially in the second half of his backswing. And that creates and leads to so many problems. And it's that one move, if he could eliminate it from the last time we saw him play, if he shows up at Augusta National and he is maintaining his height, but it's not just his height. He was not only dropping down, he was moving closer to the golf ball. So You got to have room to do your work. And if you're decreasing the amount of room, you have to do your work. You have to make all these other compensations. So Tiger would make compensations by jumping up and jumping out of the shot, which causes a host of problems. It causes the club to drop to the inside, get underneath the plane. And if Tiger Woods is maintaining his height in the second half of his backswing, then he's got room to do his work. And, he'll drive the ball beautifully, and he'll win his 5th Masters. And that's pretty much all he's got to do. And it's not that hard. It's really not. When I said, I fixed Tiger Woods in 2 minutes, that was allowing for, again, 1 minute of us screaming at each other.
You saw with his right foot, he's opening his right foot now to dress, and that's helping him load. And that's making a huge difference, the way he's being able to attack the golf ball.
Yeah, I mean, right foot flare is so important because it allows you to turn, your leg clockwise in the backswing, which is huge. Which allows you to get your hip behind you and get your right hip behind you, and allows you to load into your right side. So yeah, he's made remarkable changes to his golf swing just since the genesis. By the time he got to Honda, his golf swing was completely different. By the time he got the Valspar, it was completely different. It was like the one piece of the puzzle. The only thing left is for him to, and if I was talking to him, I would say, you need to feel like the back of your neck and your takeaway moves up and to the right. It's as simple as that. All you have to do is go look at Jack Nicklaus in slow motion and watch how his head moves up and to the right in his backswing. And it's not just peculiar to Jack Nicklaus. Annika Sorenstam did the same thing,
Sure.
And in long driving, Jamie Sadlowski did it. So there you have arguably the greatest female player of all time, arguably the greatest male player of all time, and arguably the longest hitter in the history of golf. All three had this move. All three where they moved up off of the golf ball. And the reason it's so important is, one, it gives you room to do your work. Two, it allows you a free ride on the way down. Free ride. You've got two ways to create speed in this game: muscle and gravity. And those that drop down in their backswing rely then solely on muscle. But if you have an up move in your backswing, then you get to drop down. You're literally allowing gravity to help you accumulate speed. So you've got gravity that gives you a free ride down, and then you can use your muscle. And you've got the combination of those two. There's no question. If you go back and look at how far Jack hit it, how far Annika hit it, Annika improved her driving distance, by the most mind-boggling numbers that I've ever seen. To see someone go from a middle of the road, middle distance player to become the longest hitter on the respective tour, I mean, that's just never done. And she did it, and that's why she dominated. So Tiger did it. In 2000, he maintained his height. And more than that, his head didn't move, his body carriage didn't move towards the ball, didn't move towards the target line in his backswing. You got to get it moving, at least stay stable, but ideally move up and away from the target line.
All right, Brandel, we got one more for you. We're going to bookend this interview. We started with some fun. We're going to end with some fun, okay? We asked this to Keith Mitchell. He had a very strong opinion, and we wanted to hear yours. So, you can say thanks to us. You can thank us later off air, but, we're growing the game. And we've got three initiatives that we think can grow it even more. So, number one, Patrick Reed, wardrobe, Sunday restrictions. No red and black on Sundays. It's done. He's a Nike guy now. Tiger's back. Enough's enough. Patrick Reed no longer can wear red and black. That's number one. Number two, walk-up songs. Okay? Keith made a good point. He said, can't do it on the tee box. Not enough time between players. Tee boxes are too close. You got to do the closest guy. And they tested this in Kansas City. The closest shot on a par 3, they get their song played as they're walking up to the green. And number 3, mic'd up caddies. What do you think?
Mic'd up caddies. Wow.
Yeah, think about it, Brandel.
Wow. We have to do all three of them. One, I think golf needs sort of a bad boy, and Patrick Reed, in the nicest possible way, fills that bad boy. Like, in golf, he's our bad boy, right? And what does he do that's bad? Nothing, actually. He's as time's gone on, he's become a fabulous sort of media darling. I mean, he's interesting to watch. And when he's got the red and black on, I think he does it out of respect to Tiger Woods. At least that's the way I take it. It's like, one guy's got the guts, I guess, to wear a Tiger Woods outfit on Sunday. In no way, shape, or form. I mean, nobody is Tiger Woods. Nobody does well in that comparison. But I love that he does it, and I even think Tiger loves that he does it. It's like a tip of the cap to Tiger Woods. And the walk-up song is like, I think my good buddy Eamon Lynch called this invigorated fan that's following the game and yelling out all these ridiculous things when players hit. He called them golf bros. And when you do the walk-up song, you're playing into the golf bros' hand. You're invigorating the golf bros. And I think the game of golf should do everything they can to sort of quash the golf pros. I think the game of golf is a lot better off without golf pros.
They got to get these guys under control.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I don't even know how you do it. I mean, that's a you want fans out there. You want, golf has always had, its own sort of audience. It's not the typical sports fan. It's just not. And if people say they want to grow the game, well, that means they want people coming to the game who are not golfers. And so, this is like golf's own version of cognitive dissonance. You hold in your mind two mutually exclusive ideas just as fervently, and it's like they don't go together.
Sure.
And then miking up the caddies. Look, I already think there's way too much conversation between player and caddy. I mean, when a player walks up to a golf ball, as he walks up to the golf ball, he knows what shot to hit, he knows what club to hit, he knows within a yard or two how far it is. He knows all these things instinctively. I think one of the worst things in golf is player caddy conversations. They go on too long. I think the timidity of golf professionals, they've turned over their swing to swing instructors, their body to trainers, their mind to sports psychologists. Now they're turning over their strategy to a caddy. It's like, no, you're the player, you're the genius, you're the one that knows what your body chemistry is doing. It's like, you're the one that can figure the shot out. Yeah, do you need to every now and then bounce an idea off somebody who's just as vested in the outcome as you are? Sure. But these 20-second, conversations that go on between player and caddy, sure. I think it's one of the worst things in the game of golf right now.
Evan, I don't know how you feel about that. You want the mic'd up caddies, but Brandel's saying they just need to cut the BS and hit it.
Yeah, I want it. I like that conversation. I agree with him. It's probably better for their game, but for the viewer, I want it. So we might have to talk off air about that, Brandel, but it's all good.
When you're doing a broadcast and, when a player and a caddy are having a conversation, you lay out, right? Because, you want to hear what they're saying. You want to hear, because it is compelling. It's like, oh, okay, we get inside here and, know what the yardage is. And, and I have been involved in some nice conversations out on the golf course. I've heard some very compelling. I watched a caddy talk a player into going for a shot over water out of the rough, where I was going to win the tournament if he hit it in the water, and I was convinced if this caddy was talking him into going for this shot out of the rough over the water. I was convinced the caddy was talking him into hitting in the water, and I was going to win. And it was Stewart Cink. It was his first win. It was Hartford. He drove it on 17 up on the bank. And his caddy absolutely talked him into hitting the shot, and he pulled it off, and he won. And, so that was, it was great conversation. So there's times for it, but if you mic caddies up, you're encouraging these exchanges between caddy and player. Sure. And I think while they're useful sometimes, for the most part, the player knows exactly what he needs to do. Almost the second he hit the tee ball, he's going to know how far it is, where the wind's coming from, all the nuances of the shot. And the more instinctual a player gets, the better he's going to be.
Randall, you've got the Par Train mojo, so you're probably going to have the greatest broadcast of your career. We want you to have a great week. And
thank you so much for coming
forward. The greatest Masters of all time.
We're not going to be there, unfortunately, but it is our goal to get there next year.
Well, I'll be reading your tweets.
Love it.
And if it even has a chance of being the greatest Masters of all time, I'll give a nod to your prediction. You might have said it first. What, back in December?
Back in December.